It is often difficult to compute the time-weighted return for investments in the private property market, as properties are usually not appraised on a frequent basis. This is one reason why we use a different kind of multi-period return measure, the internal rate of return, or IRR in short, for direct investments in individual properties. The IRR is the discount rate at which the present value of net cash inflows is equal to the initial upfront investment amount, or the initial cash outflow. To compute the IRR, you only need to know the net cash flow from the property for each period and the asset value at the beginning and overall end of the whole span of time. You don't need to know the asset value at the beginning and end of each period. Let's look at an example. This example follows on from the example you used when learning how to calculate time-weighted returns. Suppose that all cash flows and transactions occur at the end of each year. A cash outflow of $1 million is therefore recorded in year 0, as the investor spent that amount to buy the property. Because the property is not appraised at the end of year 1, it's not possible to say with certainty what the value of the asset is a year after its purchase, at the end of year 1. In fact, the asset value remains unobserved every year until it is sold at the end of year 4. The property is rented out for a net rent amount of $50,000 for the first year, net of any expenses. This results in a total cash inflow of $50,000 for year 1, as the investor is receiving this money from the building's occupier. The net rent received during year 2 and year 3 amounted to $40,800 and $55,080, respectively, which will equal the total net cash inflow to the investor for these 2 years. If the building is sold in year 4 for an amount of $1,041,012, the total net cash inflow will be $1,090,584. This is the sum of the rental income for the year, which is $49,572, and the income received with the sale of the property. You can now calculate the internal rate of return using Excel. Enter the total net cash flow for each year underneath each other as follows. In the cell underneath the last cash flow, enter the formula equal IRR and a bracket or parenthesis. Now select the range of cells that include cash flow amounts and press Enter. This gives you the internal rate of return for the project, which, in this instance, equals 5.82%. If you do not get the same number, check that the formatting of the cell you are calculating the IRR in is set to show 2 decimals. Note that you don't have to enter the cash flows vertically in a column. You can enter them horizontally in a row as well. To recap, all you need to calculate the internal rate of return of an investment is the initial value of the investment, the cash flows during the course of the investment, and the value of the investment at the end. This provides you with enough information to measure the performance of the investment and is the traditional method used to measure the returns to individual real estate investments. In the example used in this video, the investor had all the cash flow information available, as the calculation was performed ex post. How do you think investors can estimate cash flows in order to calculate the IRR ex ante?